What can cause cerebral palsy in a baby, and what are some of the signs and symptoms? Want to know what I'm getting at here? Stay with me as I share with you this very important information. Hello, I'm Marcus Boston, and I am a childbirth injury and medical malpractice attorney practicing law here in the state of Maryland. And I would like to quickly talk with you today about one of the possible causes of cerebral palsy and how can parents sometimes see the signs and symptoms that may mean that there is a possible cerebral palsy diagnosis. All right, now, before I get too deep in this video, I want to make sure that you remember that a diagnosis of cerebral palsy must come from your medical doctor or your child's doctor, and that medical professionals are the ones who will be able to take tests and things like that and be able to give a proper diagnosis. But let's go ahead and let's get back to one of the possible causes of cerebral palsy on a child. Now, what we can sometimes see is we have individuals who will contact my office and they will let me know that, for a mom, the pregnancy was uneventful. They made sure that they stayed and they attended all of their prenatal visits. Everything seemed to have been going fine. But when they get to the hospital and the water breaks, there's this substance there, and the substance is meconium. And once the meconium is there, the doctors and nurses, they should be paying attention to that, and they should be taking certain precautions because of this. And the reason why is because meconium, coupled with certain other factors, for example, late decelerations on the electronic fetal heart monitor, minimal variability, bradycardia, tachycardia, things like this. When we put these together with meconium, these can be signs that the baby is no longer tolerating a vaginal delivery. And if a baby is not tolerating that vaginal delivery and doctors fail to help the baby out, they fail to take certain measures, for example, an emergency C-section if it's warranted, then the baby can suffer a brain injury. Now, the brain injury is there because what can be going on is when the baby is in distress, there could be a lack of blood and oxygen getting to the baby. And when that occurs, then it's easy to understand how a brain injury can then occur because there's not enough oxygen and there's not enough blood getting to the baby. So essentially what we can have is a term called fetal hypoxia, or you may have seen this word, hypoxic ischemic encephalopathy. All of these mean that essentially the baby is not getting enough blood and oxygen, which can then lead to a brain injury. So that's the first part of the question that I talked about earlier, and that is, what are the one possible cause of cerebral palsy. Now, the second part, and that deals with what are some of the signs and symptoms for your baby. Well, the baby may not be able to keep their head up. The baby may have poor muscle tone. They may be floppy. The baby may be dealing with muscle spasms. In other words, the baby may be stiff. The baby may have feeding difficulties. The baby may have issues swallowing. If any of these things are going on, then, and we're talking about maybe a history also of seizures and other things like that, then the baby may be dealing with a cerebral palsy issue. Now remember what I said, that officially you need a medical doctor to be able to give you that diagnosis. But why did I take the time today to talk with you about this really important information? Because more than likely, if you are watching this video right now, you have questions about what's going on with your child. Maybe your child is exhibiting some of these things. Maybe your baby can't keep their head up. Maybe the baby is floppy or has poor muscle tone. Maybe your baby is having difficulty swallowing or difficulty feeding, and you know that the doctors did talk with you early on about a possible brain injury. Maybe you've got all these things going on and you are concerned about the challenges that your baby is going to face going into the future. Well, if you have all of this going on and you would like to speak with me further, this is what I would invite you to do. You can give me a call toll free at 1-833-4BABY-HELP, or you can call me locally at 301-850-4832. If you prefer to send me an email to medicalinjury at bostonlawllc.com. You can visit my website at bostonlawllc.com. And while you're there, before you leave, make sure that you have an opportunity to pick up that free e-download of a birth injury book that we have that'll help you understand this process here in the state of Maryland. So, before you leave, make sure you pick that up. All right, that's going to be it for today's quick educational video. Again, I'm Marcus Boston, and I'm one of the childbirth, injury, and medical malpractice attorneys practicing law here at Boston Law Group, LLC in the state of Maryland. And we will see you next time. Take care and enjoy the rest of your day.